The Galactic Empire had ruled for centuries. Its fleets crossed the stars without challenge. To most citizens, the Empire was eternal. But in the far edges of space, on the lonely border worlds, strange whispers had begun to spread. It started with one merchant ship. The Silver Current limped into Dock 9 of an Imperial outpost. Its hull was torn, its engines burned out, and its crew silent. The captain, a thin man with eyes that looked too far away, walked into the command center. He spoke only one sentence before collapsing. "I saw them, ships like mountains, flying, the flag of Earth." The room fell silent. The duty officer almost laughed. Earth, humanity. That was a ghost story told to children. Humans had been destroyed more than 2 centuries ago during the Great Purge. Their fleets had been crushed, their worlds burned. No one had seen a living human since. When the captain woke later, he repeated his story, each time with more detail. Colossal ships of steel and silver, weapons that glowed with blue fire, and a single emblem painted across their hulls, a circle of stars around a blue and white sphere. The old flag of Earth news traveled fast, even in the empty places between worlds. Soon, other traders told the same tale. Distant warp lanes had been closed. Merchant ships had vanished in quiet sectors. Sensor beacons stopped sending data. It was all easy to dismiss as bad luck or pirate raids. But then the reports became too many to ignore. Admiral Varek sat in his office on the Imperial battleship Iron Spear. He was a tall, severe man who had never lost a battle. In his mind, the story was nonsense. Humans, he scoffed to his officers, a dead species cannot sail the stars. This is the work of smugglers or rebels trying to frighten us. Still, the Empire was careful. Varek ordered long-range scanners to sweep the border. Days passed with nothing but static and the hum of the Iron Spear's engines. Then, one night cycle, a junior sensor officer froze at her console. She was reading faint warp signatures, dozens of them approaching Imperial space. She ran the data again. The signatures did not match any known design in the Imperial database. Not smugglers, not rebels, not even ships from the distant neutral worlds. These were something else entirely. The signals came from deep in the shadow of a gas cloud called the Veil. No one traveled. There it was, a graveyard of old wrecks and dangerous radiation. And yet, something was moving inside it. Slowly, patiently, Varek ordered a small recon unit to investigate. 3 fast corvettes slipped into the Veil. They were to scan, record, and return. Simple work. But after they entered the cloud, their transmissions became strange garbled voices. Static, the sound of alarms in the background. Then, nothing. All contact was lost. The Empire told the public nothing. But among the officers aboard the Iron Spear, tension grew. In the mess halls, men and women spoke in low voices. Was it pirates? Some new alien power? Although none dared say it, humans. 2 days later, a freighter emerged from the Veil, its engines dead. The crew was gone. The ship's log had been wiped, except for one fragment of video. It showed a shadow in the clouds, vast and slow-moving, with smaller shapes drifting around it like a school of fish. A low metallic hum filled the recording, followed by a single human word, soon. Varek watched the footage 3 times. His hands tightened on the edge of the console. He ordered the video sealed as classified and sent an urgent message to the Emperor. Whatever this was, it was not the work of common raiders that night. Varek stood at the observation deck of his ship, staring into the darkness beyond the veil. Somewhere out there, something was moving toward him. The whispers in the border. Worlds now had weight. Something had awakened in the black. The last thing Varric saw before the viewing glass dimmed was a small flicker in the far distance, like a star winking. Only it wasn't a star. It was a signal light. Asterisk, the orders were simple: investigate, identify, and report. The iron spear moved toward the veil at full speed, flanked by 2 heavy cruisers. Admiral Varric stood on the command deck, his eyes locked on the swirling clouds ahead. The veil wasn't just a gas formation, it was a legend. Ships that went in often didn't come back. Navigation beacons had long gone dark. No one had mapped it in over a century. The crew worked in tense silence. Everyone had heard the rumors. They remembered the garbled transmission from the missing scouts, and now they were heading straight into that same darkness. Varric's voice broke the quiet. Signal the forward scouts. We need live feeds the moment they have visuals. Aye, Admiral, replied his officer. 4 smaller ships, fast and agile, darted ahead of the main fleet. Their sensor arrays glowed faintly as they scanned the dense clouds. At first, it was only static electrical discharges, pockets of radiation, and the strange, echoing hum that the veil had always been known for. Then, the first scout reported in, Admiral, I think we're seeing something. Large metallic structure. Wait, no, it's moving. The feed cut out. Another scout transmitted a burst of data before vanishing from the channel. The packet was scrambled, but the image was unmistakable. The shadow of a colossal ship, larger than any Imperial dreadnought, drifting silently in the fog. Around it were smaller vessels, sharp and angular, flying in tight formation. Varric's jaw tightened. The shapes were not like anything in the Imperial fleet. They had the raw industrial design of an older age, yet moved with precision and unity. On the bridge, murmurs broke out. Some swore they saw the old Terran star circle emblem faintly painted on one hull. Others said it was a trick of the light. Silence, Varric ordered, his voice cold, back in the veil. The human fleet waited. Admiral Sarah Kane watched from the bridge of the HSS Titan, her flagship. She was a figure of calm authority, her eyes sharp, her voice steady. For decades, humanity had hidden in the far reaches of uncharted space, building, preparing, and remembering every injustice the Empire had done. Her second-in-command, Commander Yates, stepped up beside her. The Imperials have entered the outer veil. Shall we engage? Not yet, Kane replied. Let them see us first. Let the image burn into their minds. She knew the power of fear. The galaxy believed humans were gone extinct. But the truth was far more dangerous. Humanity had survived, learned, and evolved. The Titan's hull gleamed faintly in the light of the veil's electrical storms. Around it, 24 human warships formed a silent wall. Carriers, destroyers, and battlecruisers all retrofitted with weapons and armor unknown to Imperial science. Kane turned to Yates. Transmit a signal on all Imperial frequencies. One word only. The officer nodded. The word left the Titan and traveled through the thick clouds like a whisper. Soon. Back in the Imperial fleet, every ship received the message. The bridge crew stared at the single word on their screens. The voice was deep, steady, and human. Varric felt a cold weight in his chest. He remembered the old war records. Humans had been dangerous even when outnumbered. If they had somehow rebuilt a fleet of that size, Pull the cruisers back, he ordered. Keep us at scanning range. We don't move closer until we know their intent. But it was too late to stay hidden. From the mist, the human fleet began to move. First, the escorts emerged sleek, fast, armed with weapons glowing faintly blue. Then came the carriers, their massive hangar bays lined with shadowed fighter silhouettes. Finally, the Titan itself appeared, a behemoth of steel and power, dwarfing every Imperial ship present. Gas clouds parted around it like water, lightning flashing behind its hull. No one on the Iron Spear spoke. Even Varric's most loyal officers felt something they hadn't in years: doubt. Kane's voice came over the comms, calm and unhurried. "We are the children of Earth. Remember us." The transmission ended. The human fleet stopped moving, waiting for the Imperials to make the next move. Varric turned to his staff. "We'll return to the Emperor with this information. But understand, this is no pirate force. This is a declaration." And as the Imperial ships slowly turned away, Kane watched them go. She knew they would report what they had seen. She knew fear would spread through the Empire like wildfire, because now every captain, every soldier, every citizen would ask the same question. If the humans have returned, what do they want? The Imperial Council had been shaken by Varric's report. Some dismissed it as an elaborate trick. Others whispered about old nightmares from the war. But the Emperor did not laugh. His orders were swift: confront them, learn their strength. If possible, destroy them before the people lose faith in the Empire. Within days, the largest battle group in the sector was dispatched. 4 battleships, 12 cruisers, and a swarm of escorts all under Varric's command were sent back into the Vale. This time, there would be no quiet observation. The journey into the Vale felt heavier than before. The gas clouds pressed in on the ships, swallowing their running lights. Sensors twitched with false readings. Even the most experienced pilots gripped their controls tighter. Varric stood on the Iron Spear's command deck, his voice steady despite the tension. "Keep formations tight. If they're out there, they'll know we're coming." As the fleet pushed deeper, static filled the comms. The hum they'd heard before, the low, metallic vibration returned, this time louder. It was as if the very space around them was alive then, without warning. The clouds ahead began to glow. First came the escort's sleek human frigates sliding through the mist, their hulls marked with the ancient star circle of Earth. They did not attack. They simply drifted into view, forming a wall across the Imperial's path. Behind them, shadows moved. Enormous shapes with long, flat decks. Battleships with jagged armor plating. Carriers that looked like moving cities. And then, the HSS Titan emerged. She was bigger than any Imperial vessel, her hull layered in dark steel and glowing blue lines. Her engines burned like suns in the fog. The name Titan was carved into her bow, but it was the emblem on her cider blue and white sphere, surrounded by stars that made the Imperial crews whisper, the flag of Earth, on the Titan's bridge. Admiral Kane studied the Imperial fleet through her display. Commander Yates stood at her side. "They brought more ships this time," Yates said quietly. "Good," Kane replied. "It means they're taking us seriously." The communications officer looked up. "Admiral, they're hailing us. Put it through." Varric's face appeared on Kane's display. "This is Admiral Varric of the Galactic Empire. Identify yourself and your purpose in Imperial space." Kane leaned forward, her voice calm. "I am Admiral Sarah Kane of the human fleet, and this is not your space." These stars once belonged to us. Varek's eyes narrowed. Impossible. Humanity was eradicated. You tried, Kane said simply. You failed. A silence hung between them, broken only by the low hum of their ships on the Imperial bridges. Crew members stared at the human ships with growing unease. The designs were old, almost ancient, but somehow improved. Their weapon systems pulsed with energy unknown to Imperial science. Their formations were tight, flawless. Varek tried to sound dismissive. If you expect us to believe you can challenge the Empire, you are mistaken. We control thousands of systems. Kane's reply was cold. Empires fall. You'll be no different. She raised her hand, and without firing a shot, the human fleet advanced. The escorts glided forward in perfect unison, their weapons locking. Onto Imperial ships but holding fire, the carriers' launch bays opened, revealing rows of fighters ready to deploy at a moment's notice. The psychological effect was immediate. Imperial officers shifted nervously. Some whispered about retreat. Kane opened a final transmission. Her voice broadcast across every Imperial frequency. We are the children of Earth. We are the survivors you could not kill. We remember every planet you burned, every life you took, and now we have returned to reclaim what is ours. The Imperials were silent. Not one dared to cut the channel. Then, without another word, the Titan's engines flared, and the human fleet surged forward slow, deliberate, unstoppable. The Imperial fleet backed away, step by step, not daring to open fire but unable to stand their ground. In the observation decks of the Iron Spear, junior crew members stared in awe. One young officer whispered to another, "They're real, humans are real." Varek's mind raced. This was not a ragged band of survivors. This was a rebuilt war machine. If they had this much power now, what would they have in a year? The thought chilled him more than the cold void outside. By the time the Imperial fleet retreated from the Veil, the human fleet had not fired a single shot. They didn't need to. The message had been sent. In every corner of the Empire, rumors spread faster than officials could silence them. People spoke in taverns and marketplaces. The humans have returned. They have ships bigger than cities. They didn't even need to fight, and the Empire still ran. From her command chair aboard the Titan, Kane watched the Imperials vanish into the mist. They'll come back with more, Yates said. I hope so, Kane replied. The galaxy needs to see what happens when the Empire meets humanity's full strength. Her eyes stayed fixed on the dark horizon ahead. The war hadn't started yet, but soon it would. The Emperor's pride could not allow retreat. Varek's report had shaken the throne, but instead of fear, it birthed rage. The Imperial High Command assembled the largest armada seen in a century, over 50 capital ships, dozens of carriers, and hundreds of escorts. It was a force meant to crush not just an enemy, but a legend. Their orders were clear: destroy the human fleet. Erase their name from the stars forever. The human fleet was waiting. Deep within the Veil, Admiral Sarah Kane stood on the bridge of the HSS Titan, reviewing final battle plans. The Titan's massive display showed Imperial formations closing in from 3 vectors. Commander Yates approached. This is it, Admiral. They've brought everything. Kane's gaze didn't waver. They think numbers will save them. They've forgotten who we are. She turned to her crew. All ships, battle readiness. Today, we remind the galaxy of Earth. The first contact came at 04:00 hours. Imperial long-range cannons fired bright lances of energy into the Veil. Human shields flared, but held. The Titan returned, fire not with a single shot, but with a ripple across the entire fleet. Every human ship lit up the darkness. Blue plasma beams, railgun slugs, moving faster than light. Missile salvos guided by AI swarmed through the Imperial lines. The first Imperial carrier exploded before it could launch its fighters. On the iron spear, Varric gripped the command rail. Push forward, overwhelm their flanks. His orders sent 3 battleships and a wave of escorts charging at the Titan's left wing. Kane anticipated the move. The HSS Resolute and HSS Harbinger broke formation, turning their massive broadsides toward the incoming ships. A single volley tore through the lead battleship, snapping it in half. The escorts scattered in panic. The Empire had the advantage in numbers. Humanity had the advantage in precision. Every human warship moved as part of one mind, responding instantly to threats. Their fighter wings didn't engage in messy dogfights, struck in timed, surgical strikes, disabling enemy engines before moving on. In the middle of the chaos, the Titan advanced, shields glowing like a second skin. "Bring the Novalance online," Kane ordered. The crew obeyed. Deep within the Titan's core, ancient power hummed a weaker weapon born from human desperation during the final days of the Purge. The Nova Lance was not a missile, nor a cannon, but a concentrated beam of star-core energy capable of slicing through any known material. Varric's ships regrouped for a final push. Target their flagship. All firepower on the Titan. Dozens of beams and missiles streaked toward Kane's ship. Shields buckled under the sheer force, alarms blaring. But before the Imperials could press the advantage, Kane gave the command, "Fire." The Novalance erupted from the Titan's prow, a blinding column of white gold light. It speared straight through the iron spears, shields, hull, and reactor core. The Imperial flagship was split in 2, both halves drifting apart in burning silence. Varric never had time to give another order. The destruction of the iron spear broke the Imperial formation. Confusion spread like wildfire. Ships collided, fired blindly, or fled into the gas clouds. Human vessels moved in relentless pursuit, cutting down any resistance. Minutes later, silence fell. The once mighty Imperial armada was nothing but wreckage and drifting survivors. On the Titan's bridge, Kane stood in the quiet after the storm. Her voice carried across the fleet-wide channel. "Let the galaxy remember this day. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity does not vanish. We are here, and we are coming." The transmission was sent on all open frequencies. Every surviving Imperial ship heard it. Every listening post in the sector recorded it. The Empire's propaganda machines would try to spin the story. They would call it a tragic loss to an unknown threat. But the truth had already escaped their control. In shadowed cantinas on trade routes, in the farthest colonies, people would tell the tale. How the humans returned, how they shattered the Empire's pride in a single day, and how the Titan sailed away into the stars, untouchable, unstoppable. From her command chair, Kane watched the veil fade behind them. Commander Yates broke the silence. "What now?" Kane's eyes were cold, but a faint smile touched her lips. "Now we take back everything." And as the human fleet vanished into the void, the galaxy felt something it had not known in centuries: hope for the oppressed and fear for the tyrants. Because from that day forward, the galaxy would whisper a single truth. No one believed it until they saw the human fleet.